right, hello.
Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
how you doing?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Environmental Podcast.
Yeah, this is our
Glad to be
podcast.
here.
Yeah.
This is our podcast where we talk about different aspects of sustainability. This month, we are talking about packaging for the entire month. So every month we have overview investigative one. We read a book, we talk to a change maker like we are today, and we give brand ideas in the next one. So definitely subscribe if you want all five. If you're watching this on YouTube, that would be awesome if you wanted to subscribe. Today we are talking to Greg Barber, who he's here today to talk to us about eco-friendly printer, which is his business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, Greg.
Nice. Yeah, good morning. It was good morning to you.
Yeah, only me.
Or you.
Good evening for me. And
Nice to talk to you. I thank you very much for inviting me on.
Yes, our pleasure. Yeah, so you are the owner and founder of Eco-Friendly Printer. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, I was brought up in the paper business to begin with, and then I became an environmental printer along the way. But it was in 1990 at the 20th anniversary birthday. I happened to be driving between Port Washington and Manhasset, Long Island, and I saw 100 middle school kids parading and celebrating Earth Day. And I decided to just stop and watch them for a bit. I was very impressed with what they were doing and that they cared about the environment.
Yeah.
And I decided at that very moment that I would become an environmental printer. I would merge, because I was a paper guy and I was selling printing really for, I represent a few printing companies, and I decided to merge them both into becoming an environmental printer myself and run the business myself. So that was 1990. But I said that I thought to myself, if I'm going to sell environmental printing, I want to be at the high end of the spectrum. And, back in 1990, the definition of recycled paper is it had to contain 30% post-consumer waste to be considered recycled paper. There is one caveat that if I were selling a recycled coated paper, the EPA allows it to be 10% post-consumer. So people say, why does coated be 10% and uncoated is 30%? Because 60% of coated paper or 40% is clay. The clay is in the coated.
Okay.
There's clay that's in part of making coated paper. So they don't count that against the post-consumer content. So that's the only wrinkle. That's probably the only time I've really said that coated. But there are times when you get a swatch book from a different printer, and a Sappi is one of the paper mills. They'll send you, and they might have 10% post-consumer. That is a recycled sheet. Okay, so a lot of people don't know that.
if it's coated, got it. Okay.
If it's coated, if it's uncoated, it's got to be 30%. Back in the days of 1990, when I was selling paper, I had EPA contracts selling paper all over the country. There were 10 different cities, EPA sites, San Francisco, New York, Philadelphia, DC, this and that. And I was selling these EPA divisions 100% post-consumer paper.
Okay.
And that paper I got from the first mill to make 100% post-consumer paper is Domtar in Canada. So I was able to get the paper. I had to go through a lot of bidding to get the contract, and that contract lasted for several years, and that's how I got really into it. And as I was moving away from being a 100% paper salesman into being a 100% printer, I followed up by saying, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to feature the 100% post-consumer waste paper. So that's what I've done.
Yeah.
If somebody says to me, I want a coated sheet, well, up until 3 months ago, coated paper, as I said, was like 10 or 20 or 30% post-consumer. I'm sort of diverting to say there's a mill in New Hampshire. It's called Monadnock. And Monadnock came out with 100% post-consumer velvet coated text and cover.
Whoa.
Coated paper in 100% post-consumer. I couldn't believe it because I used to fight other paper merchants that were saying, oh, my paper is 100% post-consumer. I knew they were lying. And they were getting it out of Japan or some other place, but now it's true that there is a 100% post-consumer encoded. But
Love that innovation. That's
huh?
great.
That's huge. That's huge. And I tell you where it really made a difference to me is that I had a client that asked me, do you print books,
Mm.
print hardcover books? And I go, I don't really do hardcover books, but you'll save a lot of money if I can talk you into doing a softcover book. So, but if you're going to use a softcover book, it's got to be the paper's got to be pretty thick.
Mhm.
And this mill that just came out with the 100% post-consumer velvet coated, they make a 16-point or 16 thousandths of an inch thick cover paper, which has good bulk and it's sturdy. And I used it to print a brochure with 148 pages plus cover, like almost like a book. And it came out gorgeous. The thing about it, when you print on a coated paper, the ink kind of stood right on the sheet instead of sinking in. So the quality of the printing was terrific. So,
Awesome.
so
So
I
you
moved.
do print soft cover books.
Yes.
Okay.
And
That's good.
the soft cover book, you need to be, it's a perfect bound book. All right. And there are special glues to help the bindery be better so that the pages don't rip out, or if you're using the book a lot, that it'll last longer. So we know how to do that as well. So I am starting to get orders for the softcover books.
Nice.
Wow, that's really cool.
Most of my orders when I started were for letterheads, envelopes, brochures, trifolds, business cards,
Mhm.
postcards, greeting cards. I'm going to stop at the moment with greeting cards, and that one of my biggest accounts started buying greeting cards from me because during this pandemic, a lot of people went online and found him while they were searching. And where my business was down a little bit in February, March, of 2020, obviously the pandemic, all of a sudden I'm getting a 300% increase in printing greeting cards because people, I can't see you, I can't visit you, I might as well buy a greeting card and send it to you. So that's why that market went way up, and for the 2020 I did very well, primarily because of that. But in the greeting card market, besides printing on your typical Hallmark smooth cover stock that you would go in if you're buying a greeting card, we now have 100% post-consumer waste paper with a felt finish, little bumpy finish,
Okay.
texture finish. And what's happening is that my client can sell the greeting cards for 20 or 30% more because it has that perceived value of being like an archival looking greeting card.
Really high end.
So the greeting card business has been phenomenal for me. Besides that, I've gotten into printing banners, posters, labels. Now the people who come to me because my name is Eco-Friendly Printer, that's the company, they search and they find me, and they generally don't ask me for anything but environmental printing.
Right.
And so when it comes to banners, well, what can you do for me that's sustainable? And I go, well, I now have a cotton-based substrate that can be used outdoors.
Whoa.
And you can
is it
print.
also post-consumer?
No, it's basically no plastic, no vinyl.
Yeah.
See what we're doing. Not everything can be switched from vinyl to 100% post-consumer, but you do vinyl to the best there is out there. So in banners, it would be a cotton fabric or there's also a polymer, polypropylene.
Mhm.
That doesn't sound very environmental, but it's a heck of a lot better than a vinyl banner. So I have that. And so the banner market is a great market for me. But from that, the clients would ask me, okay, you've printed my brochure, my letterhead, this and that. We want to be able to send it to our clients, but we want to look environmental doing it. And therefore, the crossover into environmental packaging is the subject of today. And that is, what do you have for the packaging market?
Mhm.
And we have environmental boxes, environmental inserts, environmental mailers, environmental bags, and they can be made in 100% recycled material. The one grade that people really want, or the color that they really want when it goes sustainable, they would like it to look like a shopping bag, a brown craft shopping bag.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very, very popular. So I have brown craft shopping paper type color
Okay.
for boxes and for mailers and for envelopes. When somebody wants to send something out, it used to be they would send it out in a plastic bag, like a FedEx bag or something, plastic kind of bag. And now we have mailers that are heavy cover stock in that craft color, and it has a peel and seal, so it's easy to just close it.
Mhm.
And we even have mailers that could have gussets on there on the sides. So if you're going to put in, say you're going to put in 10 or 15 brochures, or maybe 5 or 6 brochures in one of these things, and it has gussets so it expands out,
Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
you can fit the 5 brochures in one of these mailers
Okay.
and send it out.
I have a question about that.
Mhm.
So do I. I also have a question.
Yeah. So if someone was looking for a sustainable option for their print material or for their packaging, I guess, what is the most sustainable option?
Okay, good question. And the most sustainable, going back to when I started, is 100% post-consumer waste is the most sustainable paper made today, which is also 100% processed chlorine-free. People never, in the beginning, ever asked me about the bleaching of paper.
Yeah.
But if you're using 100% post-consumer waste paper, the bleaching is done with oxygen or hydrogen peroxide and not chlorine.
All right.
That's
So no chlorine is emitted into our streams, near the mills. And if you have chlorine, it mixed with other chemicals, it can create dioxin. And dioxins will poison fish, wildlife, and us. It can cause cancer.
Right.
So this 100% post-consumer paper is the most sustainable. The acronyms for when a lot of times I'll say 100% PCW, or I'll say 100% PCF. PCW is
Consumer waste?
post-consumer waste.
Okay.
PCF is processed chlorine-free. But I
Okay.
have to actually say processed chlorine-free or post-consumer waste, because sometimes I assume everybody knows what I'm talking about. And you got to almost act like you're talking to 5th graders sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's not their field, it's my field.
Yeah.
But I would say to people, you want to be more sustainable, then don't print on a non-recycled sheet. Don't even print on a 30% post-consumer waste sheet. If I can give you 100% post-consumer waste and not cost you any more money.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I do have ways of getting the paper from the paper mills, almost like I'm the paper mill. And so
Right.
my final paper price is no more expensive than going to a non-environmental sheet or a low post-consumer waste sheet.
That's
So
incredible.
that's the
That's
advantage.
really
That's the
great.
advantage I have.
Yeah.
You
So
had another question?
is this is something that I think that we've talked about several times in podcasts before, but it's one thing to use recycled material, and then sometimes recycled material isn't recyclable again. So just to ask, is your your paper products, are they recyclable again, even though they've already been recycled?
Yeah, the rule of thumb, and you haven't heard this one before either, is that you can recycle paper 7 times, 7 generations, 7 times. Okay, that comes directly from the paper mills.
Okay.
And how do they know whether it's 6 or 7 or 5? If
Uh-huh.
if it can't be used to make good quality new paper, as you're running the screens, like it's almost like a screen is as the screens get smaller, that the paper that's not going to work will not go into the batch. So you can
Okay.
so my paper is recyclable. My paper is biodegradable. My paper is compostable. Okay? These are all in the sustainable market. You need biodegradable. You need to know it's compostable. You need to be able to recycle it and all that stuff. All that
Mhm.
is true
Mhm.
with my 100% post-consumer papers.
Right. And you also, yeah, you like you just said, you don't use chemicals, so it's not. You also said something to us earlier before the call about the dyes that you use and the importance of using, like what you use to like print on the paper, inks and toners and things. So
Yeah, so what happens is people want to know that I usually ask me, do you use soy-based ink, which is synonymous with vegetable-based inks? And the answer is yes, we do on offset printing. We have blankets and the big presses. Um, when it comes to small runs, I offer digital printing, and digital printing uses toner, and we have 100% non-toxic toner. So somebody would say to me, well, which one is more environmental, the soy ink or the toner? And my answer is the toner is more environmental. It's 100% non-toxic versus soy-based is only 14% soy-based and 86% oil. In the marketing field, everybody did a great job in the beginning with soy inks. They kind of think it's 100% soy-based. And I said, this is a little joke I give them. I said, if you want 100% soy, you got to go to your Chinese restaurant.
Yeah. He was-
With the soy sauce. There's no such thing as, now I will say this is that one of the largest ink manufacturers in this country, maybe it still is, Superior Ink. I know they're in New York. I don't know how many other cities. Back when I was first starting in the 90s, I would say, can I get soy-based inks that's more than 14% soy-based? And they were working on trying to get to 25%. I would have thought by now I would have heard something along the way, because that's a big deal if they get to 25%. So I'm not sure where they are, but you know what? After our little meeting here, I may check it out. But you cannot use, so you can't use toner in an offset press, and you can't use ink in a digital press. So what we do is we do the best we can for our clients, whichever way it goes.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'm sorry, but I don't, maybe this is something I should know, but I don't really know the difference between those two things.
Between what?
An offset press and a digital press.
Okay. So your offset press it uses, it's like blankets and rollers, and the paper goes, it's almost like if they were doing New York Times. It's
Yeah.
like big
Okay.
rollers, and the paper goes through the rollers, and there's a plate and an ink, and it's
Yeah.
pressed, and the ink goes on the offset paper. So that would
Okay.
be offset. Usually offset presses go up to 40-inch presses. You can run a 28-inch by 40-inch sheet through an offset press,
Okay.
where in digital printing, it used to be that the largest sheet would be approximately 13 inches by 19 inches. If you go to your local, I don't want to say which store, but if you went to a local store and wanted a digital job, the maximum size might be 13, 19. the advantage of going with me is that we have the ability now to print digitally up to 22 inches by 28 inches. So
Okay.
that is far superior to doing a 13 by 19 inch. And the other thing is digitally is that particular press can print stocks up to 24 point thick, 24,000,
Okay.
where the normal digital presses can only do 16 to 18 point.
Mhm.
So here we are, we can print on a heavier sheet and we can print a larger sheet. And that will take away a lot of business that used to go to offset printing to come back into digital, because if you're doing a short run, digital printing is way cheaper than doing an offset run. And so people
Okay.
say to me, well, when do you use digital? This would be a typical question for me. When do you use digital and when do you offset price-wise? And my answer is whatever you can fit on 500 sheets of 13 by 19. Of course, now it could be 22 by 28, but in the old days, whatever you could fit on 500 sheets, 13 by 19, the price is going to be best with digital. Once you go past that, then I start checking my offset prices. Now,
Okay.
what does that mean to you as far as what can you fit on a 13 by 19 sheet? Well, two of the most popular items that I print are business cards and postcards. Now, a postcard could be 4 by 6 inches, and 4 by 6 inches could give me 8 or 9 out, depending on whether it's bleed or not. So let's say 8 out. So I can get 8 business cards, 8 postcards out of a 1319 sheet. You have to draw a rectangle and just do that. And so if I say it's digital up until 500 sheets, excuse me, then take 8 times 500. So maybe I can do 4,000 postcards, less expensive digitally than if I go to an offset press.
I see.
And if it were business cards, I may get 20 business cards on a sheet.
Right.
So 20
Mhm.
times 500. So that sounds like 10,000 to me. Is that right? 20 times
Yeah.
500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can go almost up to 10,000 business cards.
Right. Which would be 100% post-consumer and with the non-toxic ink.
Right. And
That's
it's 100% PCF, process chlorine free. So you can really, really be sustainable. I will go back to what we might have discussed earlier, is that one of the goals of being a sustainable printer is to come to zero waste.
Mhm.
And the Paris Accord, which was 5 years ago, and we will be part of the Paris Accord now soon, is that their goal is to be zero waste. I think there's something other way, zero something waste, zero, but they want to be zero waste by 2150.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a long ways from now.
It is.
But all of a sudden, Google and Apple are in a contest to beat that goal by anywhere from 10 to 20 years. So I've heard one of them says 2030, 2130, and one of them says 2140. But besides that, there are 360 companies that have signed a pledge to be sustainable, zero waste by 2150.
Mhm.
So I expect my market could get even bigger as people are going to start doing more environmental printing,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
we're going to push for that now. But so I'm kind of looking forward to that market growing.
Absolutely. I bet.
I would like to say is that when it comes to packaging, where I started to say that, so I print the letterheads, I print the brochures, I print books, I do books
Yeah.
and soft cover books. So let's say I have soft cover books, and then the two options I give people is, well, I can print a box, I can print several boxes. We can have little boxes that fit samples, and
Yeah.
and they can fit up to 1 pound of things, little product sample boxes.
Mhm.
We can go to mailer boxes, which is good for up to 10 pounds of product. And then we can go to larger mailer boxes, which can fit up to 20 pounds. And then all of that, let's say, or another thing I do is an actual die cut product box. So I do that where, let's say I did it for a couple of companies and they have 5 or 6 bottles or something that they want to
Yeah.
put in the box.
Mhm.
So with my designers, we created the template and we show their artists how to set up the template or how to set up the artwork for us. And then we'll put and we actually did the fulfillment. We took the 6 bottles, we put it into the 6
Oh, wow.
inserts, okay? And then there might have been dividers between the sections. So we
Yeah.
would do that as well and close it up and seal it up. And that, and using a heavy enough stock, depending on the weight of what was in it, it could be mailed directly, FedEx or
Really?
however it goes. So I got involved with a lot of that. Now, weight is what is important to boxes. You don't want to use a 30 point, you don't want to use a corrugated box for a little job that only needs 5 pounds of product. Right? When you do need the corrugated box is when we're finally finished with everything and you want to send 30 pounds. You know, the UPS generally goes to about 30 pounds, what they recommend. So let's say you have 5 30-pound items. At that point, we go with a corrugated box material. Okay.
So are you saying that like when you order something from Amazon and you get that big ass cardboard box, that's, I mean, it's not necessary but in terms of it's using so much packaging, but that there are other options like, because we all are getting a lot of packages right now. So what I hear
There are options, like for instance,
Oh, yeah. That's
these pretty mailers.
I told you that I do a lot of bags and stuff, like here's a pizza bag, and I have coffee bags, and I got all kinds of different bags for jewelry. But all these samples that I was going to show you, they all came first in this big bag thing.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Now,
Yeah.
you can't see it, but this bag is reinforced, okay, with something to
And that's a
reinforce it,
shipping
so
bag.
it's hard to rip. It's strong,
Okay.
okay, and it's light.
That's nice.
Okay.
So if a product coming, you know, I guess a lot of times they say, let's say a sweater, shirts and stuff like that,
Yeah,
could come in this instead of a big box.
absolutely.
Right.
And then what would happen is you know, even for Amazon, it would be lighter weight to ship.
Right. Be
Yeah.
cheaper.
It'd be cheaper for postage.
Yep.
Because,
Okay.
you
So
know,
what about glass? Like
this came in UPS,
Yeah.
you know, and this was a 1 pound box. I mean, so it was all samples. So there's no reason to put this in a box. You use a mailer thing like this. And this, by the way, is using 100% recycled paper.
Right.
Beautiful. Okay.
So then here is, instead of using like a FedEx envelope or whatever,
Like
right?
a bubble mailer.
You see how the ridges, you see the ridges?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, those ridges are reinforcing this envelope so it won't fall apart. Okay,
Okay.
and also, as you see, you can peel.
That's so great. Yep.
This is peel and seal,
Perfect.
right?
Yeah.
And you close it up. But the other thing about this is that you can also order these kind of bags with, you can reuse it. In other words, you can actually, you send it to somebody, I don't think this one is, but you can like open it up and reuse it again.
That's
So
cool.
in other words, this envelope could be used more than one time.
Yeah.
From a sustainable situation,
Right.
you might be able to use it 2 or 3 times.
Right.
If you
So
have
would that envelope be like the replacement for a bubble mailer?
Yes.
That's what we, okay. And
Yeah.
what about like if I was sending glass? One time in my life, I'm not surrounded by brown bottles, but I like, for instance, like a,
I think if you were going to I'm going to interrupt you, but I think if you were going to go with a glass, then from my standpoint, I would probably have you go to the box.
Move
Because
to the box.
the box is going to be, you need the sturdiness of the corrugated box. And the other thing about if anything fragile,
Yep.
the boxes are either single wall or double wall. I don't know if you ever heard of this before, but if you're going to send something that's fragile, you want the box to be even thicker.
Mhm.
Yep.
So a double wall is really a double thick
Mm-hmm.
stock.
Yeah.
And then you need fillers, to
Yeah.
so the glass, if it's a glass, is not going to be jumping
Yeah.
all over the place. So we even have fillers instead of using the plastic peanuts.
Yeah.
There are compostable paper to replace the plastic peanuts. So you could take the paper, and it's all the craft color again. So you can take the stuff and you can insert it in between the open spaces of whatever is in the box. So it
Is that
doesn't.
just like ripped up paper that you have, or?
It's almost like ripped up paper, yes.
Okay. And is that something that you sell?
Yeah, I do now. And I will say this is that's why in the last 20, 48 hours or more, I do all the printing for your typical printing, the letterheads and the soft cover books and that, right?
Right.
But I don't specialize in these bags.
Yeah.
So I reached out to a company called WCI, Wisconsin Converting Incorporated, maybe. And I said to them, I want to start selling packaging. All right. And I wasn't really selling much packaging. So the company says to me, are you a reseller? Yeah, I resell my printing, this and that. They said, okay, you can be a distributor for us because WCI doesn't sell you direct. You can't call WCI and buy.
Okay.
You can't buy one of these things, right? So I said, well, that's terrific. So they give me what the going rate should be to sell somebody like you. And I get maybe a less 30 or less 20, whatever. So that would be my profit. But so now I'm a distributor for WCI. And because I got very lucky, is the company that turned me on to doing that couldn't buy from them because he was not like me, like selling all kinds of printing to all kinds of different companies. He was just one company. So they didn't want to sell to one company. It'd be like selling just to you.
Right.
So that person had on his internet, on his website, that he sold these mailer bags. And so Patagonia saw that. And so so my friend just gave me the lead to call Patagonia. I ended up with the account. How's that? I was just trying to do, get into the market. He says, well, how about having Patagonia? And
what a way to enter the market.
I don't know how many Patagonias there are, but you know what? It really helped to actually do the research on all of these items that I have. I mean, I don't know, I had it written down. You just 1 second. I just want to look at my notes.
Sure. Wow. Patagonia. It's a good
Okay, I'm just going to list off some of the boxes that I can sell through WCI. Pharmacy and marijuana dispensary bags.
Yep.
Right.
Popular one.
My son is out in Boulder, Colorado, and he sells credit card processing. And he goes, hey, Dad, this thing is going wild. He did a direct mail to dispensers in Colorado, like a massive, 1,000, immediately. He got 40 dispensaries to switch from taking cash as people walked in, give him cash for whatever it was, CBD products or whatever. And my son said, that's kind of risky. Why don't you take credit cards? So they started taking credit cards, and all of a sudden, he made a fortune, in like 1 month, because he gets a bonus for every new account. So So now I'll have to tell my son, hey, by the way, I sell I sell dispensary bags.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to do me a favor.
Sustainable. I bet that would be such a great, like we work with sustainable brands all the time. So it's really nice to talk to somebody else who also works with sustainable brands at that higher level. And I think like with dispensary and especially like medical marijuana dispensaries, if you said this is a sustainable option that is, you know, biodegradable, compostable, recyclable, that's
You know what you could do for me is sort of spread the word that I exist.
We will.
I'll have you sell,
our
I'll have-
podcast.
I'll have you sell it for me. By the way, so after that, I have the bread bags.
Yep.
The important thing for bread bags, instead of using a plastic bag, is that the paper, the recycled paper is porous. And if it's porous, the bread can breathe. And if the bread can breathe, it doesn't get moldy as fast as if you had bread in a plastic bag.
Okay.
It's a huge advantage to use paper over plastic
Wow.
in the fact that the bread will breathe. Same with bagel bags and cookie bags. You know, anything with food, it breathes. I also have bags with handles. Okay?
Oh, beautiful. Yep.
Okay. And what also is, it has a flat bottom. So people like in a store might put their product and just have it on the counter.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your 100% post, well, it's 100% recycled. I think it's 90% post-consumer. I don't know if they've made it, but it also has the recycle emblem on the back. People
Perfect.
should have recycle emblems when they're printing recycled paper. And in this case, this bag is made with 100% recycled fiber with a minimum of 95% post-consumer.
Nice.
You know, that's minimum. So maybe sometimes it's 100% post-consumer. I guess they just have to cover themselves. But that is just, you know, that can just lay on the counter just like that. So
Nice. I mean, it seems like you're really expanding your product selection so that like you can really offer these solutions to brands no matter what they need. And
I thought, you know, I should have been into the packaging arena earlier. I just, you know, I didn't really, wasn't really thinking of it.
Yeah, but also like it's a relatively new thing. We've been looking at this now, like reading a lot about it. It's relatively new that people are starting to really think about packaging and packaging waste, right? Like in the book we read and talked about last week by the owner of Terracycle, which isn't a very old company, they mentioned something about how like 99% of our waste, or 90 something percent of our waste, is actually the packaging of things that come in. And we just kind of think, okay, well, I'm not using this part, and just kind of throw it out. We don't really think about it. And it's a pretty new thing to be like conscious. It's a mind shift about.
It's probably why I didn't get really into this field.
Exactly.
You know, I like you said, maybe 6 months ago I started to think about it because my clients were saying, "What do you have?" They're saying to me, "What do you have in sustainable boxes and envelopes? What do you have?"
right.
And that made me think about it. One thing I'm also going to back up a second is, do you know that we have labels that are made out of rock and minerals?
I've been seeing this recently.
It's called Terracycle. You said when you mentioned Terra, what was that other company?
Terracycle.
Well, there is a Terra, I think it's Terra something.
Wait.
It is paper that's made out of rock and minerals.
Yeah.
Paper.
And the weird thing is that I can buy I don't make them myself, but I buy from an outfit in South Carolina where I can get it because they deal with people, like I'm a distributor.
Yeah.
The Terra, I'm sorry, you know what the word is? Terraskin.
Terraskin. Yeah.
Terraskin.
Yeah.
Okay? So
Just
I have Terraskin
company using
label,
Terraskin.
and
Good company.
and they're the same price as vinyl labels.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Okay? But now they're not more money. They're waterproof, just like, because anybody who uses a vinyl label, they want waterproof.
Yeah.
So they're waterproof. They're tear resistant. I mean, vinyl you can't tear. The tear skin, you have to really yank on it, but who's going to really do that? So it's tear resistant. It's waterproof. It prints as well, if not better, than the vinyl. And I'm selling a lot of labels. So that's another sustainable
That's so
product
cool.
that I offer.
So do you print on it with the is that digital printing when you print on
That
it?
would be, that's digital printing. I personally, again, as a distributor, I'm not putting it through the press, but I would guess it's digital. And if it's digital, it's probably 100% non-toxic toner.
Nice.
Because most toner is, no matter if it's me or Staples or some other company,
Really?
the toner is usually 100% non-toxic.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that
They
either.
don't, I mean, most of the people don't even think about saying it. You know,
Right.
it's just that I'm using 100% non-toxic toner, but I'm putting it on 100% post-consumer waste paper that is also 100% process chlorine free. And you really should switch to me.
Yes.
I agree. I'm down. So you're also FSC certified.
I want to tell you what, keep going. I interrupted you.
Yeah, I want to hear a little bit about that because next month we're going to talk more about deforestation and sustainability. So I guess one of our big questions is paper actually a more sustainable option, or is it specifically post-consumer paper that makes it more sustainable? And
I'm really happy after all these years of doing this that you have just asked me that question. Really, because FSC stands for Forest Stewardship Council.
Yes.
And what they do is they make sure that the paper mills do not destroy their land every time they cut down the trees and make paper. That they want to make sure that those mills, replant and grow new trees. Right? It's not a one and done. All right. So that's your FSC. And people say to me, well, I want FSC certified paper. And I go, now here's my view. It's nice to be Forest Stewardship Council, but what mill does not want to make new paper and grow new trees? Every mill wants to do that. So it's like big deal. I mean, most mills are FSC. Okay. What matters to me is the paper that is FSC, is it also 100% post-consumer waste? Is it also 100% process chlorine free? That matters to me. Because FSC paper could be a non-recycled paper.
Yeah.
Right? There are mills that make regular paper that has no post-consumer, but they made it from FSC land from the mills. So they could say the paper is FSC certified. But to me, it's not helping. One of the reasons I got into this is the landfills are overcrowded. All right. And usually when I say, here's who I am and why did I start? And so I'm going almost back to the beginning here, but I started 30 years ago because I saw those middle school kids celebrating birthday. But besides that, I saw barges from New York City taking a lot of waste to distant cities because we didn't know what to do with the garbage. And I didn't think that was very fair to those cities that we were sending to. And also, this will kill you the most, is that there's a landfill in Staten Island called Fresh Kills Landfill. All right, maybe one of the biggest landfills in the United States. They closed that landfill 15 years ago because it was 10 stories high in garbage. And why did they close it? Because planes coming to Newark Airport might hit the landfill.
Oh my gosh.
So they closed the landfill because of too much garbage. And so I go, why did I want to just go to 100% post-consumer? Because we keep the post-consumer is previous printed paper that has gone to the ultimate consumer, has been used by the ultimate consumer for its intended purpose. That's what post-consumer waste means.
Mhm.
And then if you're going to take that printed paper and you're going to make new paper out of it, guess what? None of it goes to the landfill. And if my goal back in 1990 was to keep paper out of the landfill, which was my number one goal, that's why I went to 100% post-consumer waste, because none of the printed paper went to the landfill.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a huge reason. And then Connie Chung, you guys probably don't even know who Connie Chung is, but
The reporter, right?
you heard. She's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. She's my age. I don't know. But Connie Chung said in 1990 said that 60% of our landfill problem is due to paper and printing waste. So
Wow.
that was like the night before Earth Day. And then Earth Day, I see all those kids celebrating Earth Day. And then I see these pictures of landfill being the closed. And I put all these things together and I go, I think that's what I want to do, which is what I did.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
exciting.
incredible.
Wow.
That's so awesome.
So I just want to, while you might want to ask me another question, I just want to see if there's anything I wanted to add.
Yeah. I love that point about the FSC certification, that like you can get something that's FSC certified, but it might still be like virgin paper. And that's not
That was the thing
actually,
that bothered me the most in all
yeah.
the years of me doing this, is I was asked about FSC certificate. And I'll tell you, the other thing the printers didn't like with FSC is that they wanted $10,000 from the printer to be able to come in and certify that they were FSC printers.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't spend $10,000 because it could have been the virgin paper, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And it wasn't environmental to me. And to trying to stick us with $10,000 bill, I wasn't going to go for that.
Yeah.
And what's happened is FSC is not as popular as it was 10 years ago. I don't hear many people talking about FSC. I mean, there's some, but not to the extent of what I heard when I started.
Can a paper be FSC if it's post-consumer?
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
And well, that's an interesting question, because your FSC is to make sure that the land is managed properly. And when you're talking about 100% post-consumer, you're not cutting down new trees.
Right.
Exactly.
So you're not dealing. So your question is interesting. You're not dealing with destroying the land when you're using previous printed paper.
Right.
But FSC also, if a printer wants to be FSC certified, which I can be, if I wanted to, is that it's the chain of command from from cutting the trees to making the paper and shipping the paper down to the printer.
Yep.
For FSC to come in and make sure that we're doing everything that they want.
Yeah.
And then be able to put their stamp of approval that the printer is FSC certified. Now, what I end up doing is I am not FSC certified because I don't want to go through that. But what I do say is that the paper I buy is FSC certified.
Mhm.
They go through it, let the mills spend the $10,000, which they've done,
Mhm.
and make sure that I'm buying the
From
FSC paper. So I'm either buying FSC certified paper that's not 100% post-consumer, or I'm buying paper that has been made from previous printing paper. So either way, but what I'm doing is getting the correct paper and then using the correct inks and using the correct toners. The other thing about being sustainable is very important. People don't think about it, is using the right size paper when you are laying out a job. So if you think that, oh, Greg, how about if my brochure or softcover book is 7 by 10 inches? And I go, well, if you do it by 7 by 10 inches, and I'm cutting out of a 25 by 38 or 2335 sheet of paper, then I'm going to throw away a lot of waste.
Yeah.
Because everything in printing goes by 8.5, 11, 11, 17,
The paper
20,
sizes.
35. So everything increments of that. So if you're doing 7 by 10, you can't cut let's say a 7x10 sheet is really 10 by 14 inches because it's folded in half to create each 4 sheets. If it's a
Yeah.
brochure or a newsletter.
Right.
If it's an 8-page newsletter, you need 2 of those sheets folded in half is 8 pages. But if the flat sheet, we call the flat sheet before you fold it, is 10 by 14. 10 by 14 is going to come out 11/17, and so you're throwing away 1 by 3 inches waste.
Every
For
time.
every single one. Yeah.
Every single one. So you're really not, you're actually not doing the environment any favors
Mhm.
Right.
by wasting paper that may end up in the landfill.
Right.
Right?
That's
What do
really
you do
interesting.
with your?
And then the other thing is, the other big peeve I have is when people say, I want a 5x7 postcard, okay? Or I want a 5x7 folded greeting card. And I go, you're losing so much money. I go, why is that? Well, if you have a 5x7 postcard and you're cutting it into a 13x19 sheet, I can only get 4 5x7 postcards out of that sheet. If you go just a little smaller, you could go to a 4x6 postcard. You could even go to what we call an A6 size, which is 4.5 by 4 3/8 by 5, 4.5, 9 by 6.25 flat folds to 4.5 by 6.25. You could even go to a 4.5 by 6.25 postcard and get that 8 out. So what happens is I give you double the amount of postcards you need. If you want 5,000 postcards, I only need to really,
Yeah.
my 2,500 of the right size will give you your 5,000.
Wow.
That's incredible insight that you can provide to brand owners that, that aren't thinking about it that way, that they just want that because that's the normal size, traditional size for a postcard. But like, I think that's really great insight.
The thing about, if you go to Hallmark and you're buying a typical 5x7 greeting card, when I fold 9 by 6.25 down to 4.5 by 6.25, you're not that much smaller.
No,
No.
yeah,
You're not losing much.
not
And-
at all.
And my greeting card company, my biggest greeting card company, who I print 600,000 or 700,000 greeting cards for, they sell that size, but they also sell even a smaller size, which is called an A2. And
Okay.
A2 is well, the envelope for an A2 is 4 3/8 by 5 3/4. So the card would be 4 1/8 by 5 1/2. 4 1/8 by 5 1/2 folded is really 5 1/2 by 8 1/4. Flat is the flat, folds to 4 1/8 by 5 1/2.
Okay.
Right? Okay. All right. My math is off. I'm very close. But he sells more. Do you care whether you're selling a little greeting card to somebody and a thank you card? Because he sells a lot of thank you cards. Thank you cards look better smaller.
Smaller, yeah.
So he's selling 700 smaller cards. He does all kinds of nature scenes. He's
So
got
much
120
less
nature scenes.
waste.
It's just smarter. It's just
Yeah.
And he's on my website. It's called Twigs.
nice. Okay.
What do you do?
Huh?
What do you do with your waste? The paper waste.
They have actual waste management people come in and they pick up the waste once a week or whatever it is. So it's carted away. We don't go to the landfills with it. They take it and maybe they'll recycle it. Maybe they'll go into 100% post-consumer, because what we're giving them is printed waste paper. Well, actually, a lot of that waste has no print on it, but it'll go back to the mills to make new paper out of.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You're awesome.
And
That is, I mean, yeah. Wow. Okay. So is there anything else that you'd like to cover before I give people your website to check you out? Is there anything else?
I will tell you, hold on, see, that's one of my podcasts. I hope you don't see my phone in
We're live here.
there. I did want to give a heads up to my 4 favorite paper mills.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, shout outs.
Shout outs.
Okay, so, and people ask me, is your paper USA paper mills?
Oh, okay.
Is it US or are you importing it from somewhere?
Hmm.
Okay, three of my favorite mills are in the United States. One is Mohawk Paper in
Mohawk is
Compostable, New York. Neenah Paper is in Wisconsin. And Monadnock Paper is in New Hampshire. Remember what I said, the Monadnock came out with the 100% post-consumer velvet coated cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, velvet is synonymous with silk, is synonymous with dull. So if somebody wants a dull coated cover, it's also considered to be silk, and it's also considered to be
Okay.
dull. Mills call their papers different things, but they are all dull coated covers.
Okay.
Okay.
Kind of marketing.
And then the other mill is from Canada,
Mhm.
and it's
Mhm.
called Rolland.
That was the
It's
first one.
Rolland. And Rolland is the mill that I use the most. Why do I use Rolland over the other three? I mean, I'm just saying that it's price. Because what happens in the Rolland mill, the brightness of the paper might be 92 brightness, which is how white a paper is. So it could have a little grayish white tinge to it,
Mhm.
versus the Mohawk, Neenah, and Monadnock are going to be more like 96 bright. There's a lot of people want a really bright white sheet.
Mhm.
But when you take, and like I did here with these greeting cards from Aya, when I printed these greeting cards, once you put the ink on the paper, you don't see the whiteness of the paper.
No, not at
Right.
all.
So,
Yeah, so-
yeah, and so for Aya uses 100% post-consumer felt cover, and Twigs use 100%, and those papers are more like a natural color. If I were to look at this,
Right.
I don't know if you can tell by color.
A little bit. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
bright white. So,
It's not.
but it like communicates that it's post-consumer weight. Like it communicates that it's been
Yeah.
recycled, that it isn't this stark bleached white. Like that certainly
Right.
feels.
And I think the other thing I like about the Rolland sheet, it's called Enviro, ENVIRO. Enviro is the name of the sheet. The sheet is a little bulkier than some of the other mills. So when somebody says to me, I want a 13-point thick cover. Well, my Enviro may be 13-point, where my options from Mohawk might be 12-point because it's a little smoother also. So in some cases, people want the bulk of the paper. So get a little bit more bulk to the paper. It's not as white. That's probably why it is cheaper, but it prints just as well.
Yeah.
So those are the paper mills.
We will definitely give them a little shout out. Yeah. Was there?
And
Looks like you are also on Facebook if somebody wants to connect.
yeah, actually, the one thing about Facebook, I looked at, somebody called me from wherever, is that I have a Facebook page for I as a owner of my own company, I do give back to the community, and my number one charity is raising food for hungry and homeless families, and also to talk about mental illness and to try to eliminate the stigma behind, to mental.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to say, I have a son who has schizophrenia, and he battled that for 25 years. And
Yeah.
while we were dealing with that, he was a former All-American lacrosse player who became ill. But as I was dealing with that, the lacrosse coach and I set up neilswheelsny.com. That, if you want to write that down, it's NeilsWheelsny.com. And if you saw that website, you'd see that I've raised over 100,000 cans of food.
Wow.
And I've gone to Long Island Cares, which, you ever heard of Harry Chapin? Harry, the Cats in the Cradle song. But anyhow, he was a famous singer way back, and his family owns Long Island Cares. And that's most of the food that I get goes there. That was a little plug for what else I do.
Incredible. No, I had no idea. That's fantastic. Wow. I mean,
That's awesome.
mm,
Yeah, that touches me. My mom, for more than 30 years, has been working with folks with personality and disorders and mental illness. So she's a speaker at like the NAMI conferences in Austin and things like that. So that
You know what
definitely,
she's kind of like? Is your mom is still doing it?
she just retired.
Okay,
So
what I want you to do, because I am a member of NAMI,
you
and
are.
yes, and yes, and when you go to the neilswheelsny.com website, there was a film that was filmed. They selected my son out of 4 people to be in this film. And what I
Okay.
did is I cut it down to one person, just Neil Barber. And it's a whole classroom of people from Manhasset Middle School talking about mental illness and what would you do if it happened to you, kind of.
Mhm.
And they made a whole movie out of what I did and
Wow.
what the middle school kids did and what the lacrosse coach who worked with me setting up Neil's Wheel did. And they like this particular thing so much that it has gone to many schools throughout the country into their health classes to actually watch the film. Now, what you'll see is a 5-minute video. The actual film is 18 minutes. That the 18-minute would go to the different schools. But your mom would probably love to see what NAMI did because they paid for it.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've got the website here now. So wow. we're definitely going to dive into that.
Incredible.
I get 2 for 1 on this. I get my
Absolutely.
eco-friendly printer and I got my Neil's Wheels.
Wow. Greg, thank you so much for all that you do, for your expertise, and thank you so much for joining us. We will definitely be giving folks the recommendation to check out eco-friendly printers because it's really the solution to a circular economy in the printing and paper industry.
And
So.
your podcast is going to help me for sure because and when you're at ecofriendlyprinter.com, go to my blog because my blog, and you should write an article that I can put in my blog. But basically, what I did, I set up the blog only for sustainability, nothing else. So everything in ecofriendlyprinter.com/blog is people giving me sustainable articles. And you'll also see that I put Google. I figured that would help my rating too, but
you have so much content here. This is incredible. This is such a fantastic resource.
There's about 70 articles, I'm guessing,
Wow.
about 70 sustainable articles. If it's not sustainable, it never gets onto my website. But I ask people like yourself, write something that's sustainable. You got to use the word sustainable at least once.
Sure.
And it goes into, I post it, and the link goes back to you, not me.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
So if you want to do that, promote yourself as being promoting sustainability.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Yeah. Wow. Well, all right. I think that's it for this episode. But
Can we fill up the time slot?
we sure did. Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for watching. Definitely check out ecofriendlyprinter.com. Yeah.
And subscribe.
And my cell phone is 973-224-1132. 973-224-1132.
Text Greg.
Bye.
Thank you, Greg. Have a great day. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.